Hi everyone, it's Tom with the LEC recap of the second week of the LEC Spring Split Playoffs. We again had 3 series and I'm gonna go over all of them and show some interesting highlights as usual. I'll probably be a bit shorter this week than usual because, to be honest, I think the series were all pretty one-sided. Not many takeaways from there. So yeah, let's just dive into it. We kicked off with Schalke here versus Fnatic, and in game 1, Fnatic already showed, okay, hey, we come here to play. They picked in a Lulu top, but after all, in the bot lane, it did end up being a bit more bloody than in the top lane, which was probably expected given the upset hitters in bot lane, and also given that Schalke had been playing well with Limit and Neon. So at 10 minutes, it was like 5 and 3 in kills for Schalke in the bot lane. But Schalke from here on kept just finding more successful engages in the brawls. Fnatic did sneak in 2 dragons, but the mid game was all about Schalke no fear. They got a Baron uncontested, they got 2 drakes, and they just broke open Fnatic base through mid. Schalke just remained dominant, and what impressed me most from them in this game specifically is that they remained super controlled. They didn't try to force things, they didn't overstay their welcome. They just realized, okay, if we just keep chipping away at Fnatic, we will win the game, which Schalke eventually did. And then in game 2, yeah, this is where Fnatic, I guess, already started derailing a bit. We saw Selfmade pick a Lee Sin in the jungle, which is a champion we haven't seen for a very long time now. I think for good reason, because jungle is all about farming at the moment and using that farm to get ahead, or you know, combined with ganking, which we see a lot from champions like Hecarim and Volibear. And I can see that, you know, Lee Sin is a gank heavy champion, so if he was gonna gank a lot, there might be an advantage there, but unfortunately, even when Selfmade ganked, there wasn't much Fnatic got out of it. Yeah, Schalke just got also a very early lead again. Fnatic barely managed to find back. They tried to find picks, but Schalke got a few times they got pretty lucky. They barely escaped with like a sliver of health left. But overall, this was a very comfortable game for Schalke. And yeah, not much Fnatic did, and it was pretty hopeless to see, actually. But not as hopeless as game 3. I think this was where Fnatic kind of got on full tilt mode and threw everything over the board that they thought they knew. It was a very bad start for Fnatic again. Once again, Schalke no fear got a very early lead. And this only got worse. And I think this clip has been shown many times now to exemplify how bad Fnatic was doing mentally, or something that just highlighted how badly they were performing over the course of the weekend, is this pretty long clip, but it's worth watching it all because the extended fight shows just how derailed Fnatic was.
Keep doing this, Selfmade can look for a dive here, but Abadaga has TP, but Fnatic have double TP to match it.
They're going to try to one-shot Selfmade. He can go unstoppable with the ultimate if he wants to try and turn and burn on this one. TP now used. He's going to try to go over the wall, but he doesn't quite make it. The flash out to safety. Neon going to grab it! Abadaga in the win. Keep in mind, Abadaga has the package. Schalke can continue to keep this play moving forward. In the meantime, Niski is pushing in the mid lane. It does cost Schalke their TP to turn that play, but Selfmade not making over that wall is a disaster. Limit kind of just baiting, kind of trying to get him in. There's a clean body slam flash. Upset's got no time to respond. Neon going to try to finish the job, but he pulls back. Neon taking down Upset, just barely alive. Hylissang wants to finish the job, but he is going to get taken down in the end. Niski managed to take down Neon. Whippo on the backside. Big healing. Can he finish the job? Abadaga needs to get out. Limit will get taken down, and Fnatic are finding the fights that they need as Abadaga caught out again by Hylissang. Whippo, will they go for the dive? Of course they will. It's Fnatic. They're looking to finish it. Abadaga flash out to safety. Abadaga looking to turn.
Oh my god!
Back on the Whippo. Valk back on the Whippo. Abadaga, are you kidding me?
So yeah, that's basically how the series went. Fnatic got clean swept by Schalke no fear after they performed incredibly poorly. And to be honest, Schalke did play pretty well in this series. They played just exactly how they needed to in order to beat Fnatic, which is what they did. And then on Saturday, we had G2 versus Mad Lions. Now, I guess this was definitely the most hyped matchup coming into the weekend. You had all these storylines with Mad Lions having defeated G2 last year in the spring. And in the regular season as well, Mad Lions managed to defeat G2. Mad Lions obviously looking super good against Rogue, and G2 looking pretty bad against Schalke of Fear last week in the first week of the LEC playoffs. So there were high stakes, high pressure, lots of excitement, and it started off pretty excitedly as well. G2 seemed to start with a normal draft in game 1 where they had the Karma top and Silas mid and Tristana bot, but they did a good old switcheroo and they had the Silas top, Tristana mid and Karma bot, so Reckless on the Karma. There was a very early first blood for G2, but the game felt pretty quiet after this. There's a few picks here and there, and I think G2 was edging towards a lead by map play, and Caps was also dealing a lot of damage on the Tristana. But on Matt's side, Karji was farming on the Jinx, and Matt tipped his kill back after a good bot fight. The game was still very close, but Matt expanded their lead basically gradually with great team fights, and I think you could definitely see that in these team fights, Mad Lions were the ones who were shot calling better, they were communicating better because they as a unit moved around and as a unit focused on the targets or split them up G2 so they could fight on 2 different fronts and edge an advantage out that way. So I think that was very impressive from there. And Mad Lions, yeah, they took the first game with, I think it did take them 3 Barons though, so that was definitely something that after the 3rd Baron and a Cloud Soul, they finally managed to win. But in the end, they got that victory. Now, G2 in the second game, they had some adaptation. They still stuck with Reckless on the bot lane. Tristana was banned from here on out because the champion is just ridiculously powerful. But G2 went with a Trundle in the jungle. It didn't matter much though, and this time from the start, Mad Lions was just in the face of G2 and got the lead. This was a very much one-sided game and not something that I definitely not something I expected to happen. I expected G2 to be a bit more resilient than this, but G2 just bit the dust again in game 2 against Mad Lions. Now, in game 3, they shifted things up. They moved Reckless away from the Karma in the bot lane and they put him on a real AD carry. And you could see that G2 shrugged off the first 2 games pretty easily, I would say. Still though, against that Mad Lions in the 3rd game, the game was pretty difficult for them. I'm not gonna say that at any point Mad Lions was like in a huge lead, because they weren't, but you could feel that even though G2 was in control, they had to expend every resource, and it felt from the way they played that they were needing to put a lot of energy into being able to clutch out the game, which they eventually managed to do. I do think that this showed that these players can still compete obviously with the very top of Europe. I think that's something that will not surprise anybody when you look at G2. But it also showed that, to me, it showed that these players, even when everything is working against them, because that definitely appeared to be the case in terms of energy, mentality, it just felt that G2 wasn't in the right shape heading into the series with Mad Lions. But even then, that they could clutch out the game just speaks to the potential of the roster overall, I would say. But then in game 4, Mad Lions secured the series. It was a close start to the game, but Mad Lions rapidly gained traction, I think, once again through just perfect play almost from them. I think Elyoya and Kaiser were performing outstandingly, but overall the entire roster was playing so well. Karji was playing good on the AD carries. Humanoid as a mid laner, I think, has been a bit underlighted maybe because Elyoya and Kaiser had been playing so well, but he had an amazing series overall as well. Very good performance from him, and super impressive victory obviously for Mad Lions, who advanced directly to the grand finals.
Onto Mickey, chunks him down, 30 seconds till Infernal. People have started to back and make their way towards the pit. Killer Instinct. That's the engage. He goes forward. Humanoid's able to flash and stay alive. Yankos gets chunked down. He's hit by the boulder, but he cannot get taken out by Armored. Mickey goes all the way forward thanks to the Q. Manages to chuck out the ulti for now. Mickey's going low. Manages to catch the Drake.
Oh, it's a huge
Armored. He may have just done it. He set up 1, 2, 3 quick kills for the Mad Lions. Wondering Caps are running for their lives. Caps is nothing left alive. 4 members of G2 are down, and Mad Lions can turn their attention to Infernal.
Oh, Mad Lions have to play well, and Karzi plays it.
And then we had Rogue versus Schalke of Fear. Now, this series to me felt pretty boring. I saw a few other people not disagree, but who said that it was entertaining, but it was just a much slower series overall compared to the action we saw in the first 2 series. So maybe I had set my expectations too highly for Rogue versus Schalke 04. But the first game was hands down an incredibly boring game. Rogue was just doing Rogue things. They were playing around the map, funneling gold to Hansama and Larsen. And from there on, played around the map. They didn't choose many engages. There was incredibly low kill count in the entire game. Basically, the entire game came down to the final moment where Schalke was starting up a Drake, and Rogue came and said, okay, but we are better in team fights, and then just won that team fight and won the game. And even though it had been a very slow game with Rogue choosing not to fight, and Schalke also, I guess, choosing not to fight, the game still ended at like 26 minutes and 30 seconds, so it was still, if you look at the rest of the split of any team, actually, I think this is way below the average game time. So that was a pretty surprising end all of a sudden of a very slow game. Now in game 2, Schalke spiced things up, and this is something I really like to see, because you have to do something. You have to throw a curveball at Rogue now that you're down at this in this series. And they did. They put Broken Blade on the Nocturne in the top lane, which excited Vedius on the broadcast a lot. If you know, he's obviously this Nocturne enthusiast. Again, the early game was pretty quiet, but around 20 minutes things started to spice up definitely. Schalke had chosen to do this, I guess not necessarily Exodia, but press alt and something dies combination with Nocturne. They had Hecarim. They just dive on somebody and the target dies, is basically what they did, and they did this actually pretty well. We again saw that controlled aggression from Schalke 04 that we also saw from them in the first game against Fnatic, where they knew exactly when to go, well, also knew exactly when not to go. And if it was a bit flippy, they were like, you know what, guys, pretty sure we can work ourselves into a better position here, and then choose to engage with it. Did pretty well, and I think that was definitely impressive from them to see. I was very happy to see that they wouldn't just stick to what we had seen in the past. Now, in game 3, the game was slow again. We did have more kills this time around than in game 1, but I don't know, it didn't feel very lively. Even though kills were back and forth and there were a few skirmishes here and there, it didn't really feel like either team was on top of their game, which is obviously a disappointing thing to see, because you want, in these final stages of the playoffs, you want both teams to play at their peak, right? But they weren't really. Larsen was on the Syndra, I think Hansama on the Kalista. Hansama, who had a very good series overall, played pretty well again. Kalista is obviously a champion he's associated with a lot, but he definitely lived up to that excitement during the entire series, actually. But yeah, it was just a really rough game for me to watch, because I don't think a lot happened. There were, even though there were many kills, I didn't find the gameplay very interesting. Rogue managed to win because they were sticking to their guns. They were playing around the map. They were playing this controlled skill gameplay. And Schalke 04, they didn't really know how to counter this with their composition. I think they had like a Rel, and they had an Abadaga on the Victor, which in itself was obviously a super good combination. But it didn't flow. It's the best way to say it. Neon on the Kaiser had an incredibly terrible game. He was just getting haunted by Hansama on the Kalista, who just ran him down a few times. It was pretty painful on that end. But yeah, Rogue just doing Rogue things once again. And then we went to game 4 with a 2-1 lead for Rogue. Now, it did seem to me for a bit that Schalke might be able to fight their way back into the series, but Schalke, they didn't again really throw any curveballs to Rogue, which I think if you're 1 and 2 down and you've already shown something with the Nocturne top lane, Nocturne was banned from here on out, I think in every game. But yeah, you need to do something, just spice things up, throw them something that they haven't seen yet, and maybe you can gain an advantage with. But they stuck to their guns, and I guess Kai'Sa again for Neon, Limit on the Gragas, Gilius on Hecarim, Abadaga on Ryze, which is obviously a scaling champion, so they were trying to match Rogue in that scaling component, but It didn't really matter all too much, although Amin had an incredible game on the Cannon. Hansama and Larsen were playing well on Kalista and Lucian respectively. And again, it was a low kill count game with Rogue just finding the way to scale and then pick a right team fight and then end the game.
Their bot side, that tri-bush, that ward is not in the bush. That ward is misplaced.
There's a ward in this bush. There's a ward in this bush. What does Schalke see?
There's no.
Oh, here we go.
Schalke don't know. Odo Omni's in the perfect position for the flank here. Inferno Drake starting. There's the culling. Here goes Odo. Oh, he gets stopped immediately. Limit with a perfect play, but the rest of Rogue are able to dive in. Inspired gets on Neon. The shutdown on Abadage. Limit did everything in his power.
So let's take a look at the bracket now, what it looks like. Obviously, we have G2 versus Rogue next in the league, which is a best of 5, I guess many people are looking forward to, because these are the two teams that played the best during the regular split, and we obviously had a very exciting first time these two teams met. And then the winner of that advances to play against Mad Lions for the championship and for a spot at MSI. Now, for some thoughts on the teams that played, I think Fnatic first. Fnatic is a very problematic situation for me. You have 5 players who should all be able to perform on the top level. And throughout the entire split, we have seen minimal progress from this team. I think that it looks very poor, it looks very dire. They are still the same team that finds a lot of engages and then doesn't know how to disengage. They are too greedy in what they want to do. And the fact that we haven't seen any change in this behavior for almost the entire split, or at least only minimal improvement, is extremely worrying to me. I have no clue what's happening behind the scenes, but it's inexcusable, basically, to have no progress. Teams like Vitality, Astralis, okay, Excel didn't show progress either, especially towards the end they fell off, but and then in the final weekend, all of a sudden of the regular split, obviously they stood up again, beating Rogue and G2. So all these teams have made some sort of progress, and then Fnatic is here, still rolling in the mud the way they used to. They made it themselves unnecessarily difficult against SK Gaming already, and now against Schalke and Fear to get punished. So I'm not sure if this team is gonna have some roster change that they need, but they need to change something, because this is honestly just tragic to see. Schalke and Fear finishing in 4th place, fitting their name obviously, but I think that this team has a lot of promise going forward. I would say that I hope that they can remain this consistency that they found towards the end, but I think towards the end it felt like they were just out of energy as well. Obviously the final weeks of the regular split were pretty exhausting to them because they had to make it, and then playoffs they put all their energy into playing against G2, and then all their energy in playing against Fnatic. So in the end, when they played against Rogue, it felt like they were a bit out of energy when it comes to playing innovation and stuff like this. I wouldn't be too worried if I were them. I think this is still an acceptable result. Obviously, they are aiming for more, but I think that this, for Spring Split, for this team, when you have a new support player and you have a new top laner, I think that's a pretty decent result. Then let's talk about Rogue. Rogue, I don't know. I had high hopes for Rogue, right? Throughout this entire split, they've been playing well. Even when people criticize them for only playing one style, I defended them because I thought, well, they can play more. We have seen them do so in the summer split, and now with 2 other players who also play very well. Because I think this regular split Rogue is much better than the regular split Rogue from last summer split. I thought, well, they will be able to play other styles as well, which is something they will need in order to meet and see eye to eye with the best teams that not only the LEC, but if they go to the international stage, will have to offer. I did an interview with Freddy who said, yes, we're trying out some weird comps so that we're more comfortable with them when it matters. And this was during the regular split, but now back to scaling, back to controlled playstyle. If it works, you know, that's fine. If this is how they think they can win the European Championship, sure. But it's a bit monotone, and I think that the best teams are diverse in what they are able to play. This is not something I see Rogue do, and that's disappointing to me. If they show up in the way that they did against Schalke of Fear and play against a team like Mad Lions, I think Mad Lions is much more diverse and will defeat them. I think G2, we'll talk about them a bit more. I think Rogue will also have a very difficult time. So I expected more from Rogue, and I'm still disappointed in the fact that they haven't shown much diversity in what they want to play. Again, if it wins you games and you're confident that it wins you games, I get it. But I think that looking at the bigger picture, it's really... yeah, it's just disappointing. I thought that maybe this team would diversify more as the playoffs progress, but I haven't seen it yet. Maybe they will do so against G2. They played against them in the last summer split as well, in the lower bracket finals of the playoffs, and there they show that they can play more, so who knows. But for now, I'm a bit disappointed with I don't know, we haven't seen them flex things or be weird with their composition, you know. So then we go to G2, and G2, I'm torn on G2 as well. I think on one hand, they lost against Mad Lions, and they were actually, we've seen the coaching staff say we're actually happy with the loss, and Jankos as well said, like, I think it's good that we lose now because that gives us a lot to learn from. Whereas if they keep winning, it's harder to pinpoint, okay, but this is a structural change that we need to make. So from that perspective, if that is what gets them going, then I guess that's fine. But I still, obviously, when you have so many star players on the roster, who in theory, in my opinion, should dominate the entire league, it's still a bit weird for me to accept that they lose 3-1 to a team like Mad Lions, who were playing super well, but G2 was just playing far under their level. It felt like they were performing on 70% of what they are able to do. And I'm not sure... I will keep giving them the benefit of the doubt until they don't win the split, right? But as a viewer and as somebody who wants to see the region thrive, it is something that annoys me to an extent where it's like, okay, but you are the best team. Why aren't you giving everything you got already? Or why isn't this fixed already if you have so many star players? Like, you should be able to at least put on a better showing. We'll see, though, how they continue. For now, they are still my favorites to, like, not like, oh, I really want them to win, but I think favorites in that sense to win the split and go to MSI. We'll see how they develop. And then Mad Lions is a team that has incredibly impressed me. I've said it before, obviously, heading into the playoffs, I didn't have high hopes because during the regular split, they were flippy and iffy and it didn't gel very well. But Kaiser, Elyoya, stepping up massively. Karzi has been playing super well, much better than he did the regular split. I think this team definitely got a stage buff. Humanoid is playing solidly. Armut is playing solidly. Their macro and micro is good. You know, it's definitely something that I would see them taking to Worlds later this year and actually perform decent with against these other teams. They are good at team fighting, as I showed in the clip earlier. And yeah, it's strange to me to see the Mad Lions flourish so quickly. I didn't expect them to be able to do this after watching the regular split. I thought, okay, this is a summer split team, then they will know exactly how to play and what they want to do, but they're already doing it now, so props to them, absolutely props to them. And with that, let's take a look at the LEC SuperFantasy lobby and the top 10 players as of the second week of the playoffs. With only 1 week left, Witakas lead with 6,027 points. Then we have Stepan at 5,866 points. In third place, I am still, but it's getting close with 5,640 points, because in fourth place is LocoX with 5,635 points. So 5 points, that's I really have to play well the upcoming weekend. Then Bene in fifth place with 5,258 points. Never Lucky with a clean 5,200 points in sixth place. Lucky Reed with 5-1 in seventh place. Faramir with 5,116 points in eighth place. Panda Bearleys in ninth place with 4,952 points, and Anjo closes out the top 10 with 4,845 points. That's it for the LEC recap of this week. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of the matches. Did you also agree that the Rogue versus Schalke no Fear match wasn't very entertaining? Or do you disagree with me? Did you have any other moments that stood out to you? Let me know in the comments below. I'll see you all on Thursday for the LEC preview, and stay tuned for more content, including, again, 2 interviews.